And welcome inside Ken Nickel Recreation Center for some Senior B action as the Outlaws host the Rebels. The Rebels playing their last game of the season. They will be the odd team out of the playoffs. The Outlaws looking to secure that second seed and open up the playoffs at home against the Mountaineers. As that ball gets sent into the middle, goes in behind its target and bounces back down into the corner. Beret tries to grab it. Ball remains loose. And Nilsson is going to pick it up for the Outlaws. Stefan Nilsson runs out over center. Takes a shot into the midsection of goaltender John McMillan. And it'll be Rebels ball. Wojciech will hand off to McCallion. McCallion steps back. He's pressed out on. He swings it over to Wheaton. Wheaton fires it over, and that shot comes in on Hetman, and he's going to loft the ball out to Forgrave, who's coming in off the bench. Tass is going to pick up the loose ball, though, and he'll come out and send it to Bray. Bray in, and it's stopped by Hetman. Bray making his way back into the lineup after suffering a thumb injury earlier this season, playing his first game in quite a while. The veteran missed out of the lineup offensively for the Rebels. Royer swings it over to his brother. Now with Simonson. Ball back over to Forgrave. He steps around a defender and stopped by McMillan. Ball gets sent up to Darren Beret. That's over his head. And back come the Outlaws. It's Wolney to Forgrave. Forgrave to the net. And stepping inside the crease and losing it at the last second through contact was Forgrave. And he's had a hell of a season, the leading scorer in the senior division. Probably the most, him and Johnson out of the Knights, the two most impressive players in this league. Another guy you could put up there is his teammate Simonson, who's had a terrific season as well. And obviously the Miners have a handful of dangerous players as well. Ball gets sent in from Basisti. Now the Outlaws are going to come away with it. McCann comes out and runs it up floor. Liam McCann lost it, but now it's picked up by Pellis. AJ Pellis played his ball this year with the Senior C Warriors, getting called up here. Sandberg back over to Tokar. Simonson skips up high, shoots that wide, and it's going to be picked up by the Rebels. And Scrimshaw will run it out. Here's George. Dangerous in his own right. Sent that over top of Peterson. Gingras is going to have to try to grab this. And now it turns over and into the stick of Birdney. In off the post. And the ball comes back out. Baldock almost picks it up. Misses it though. And it's picked back up by the Rebels as Wheaton comes back down into the offensive zone. McAdam back over to Wheaton. McAdam up top. Tries to sail it into the corner. It'll be picked up by Baldock and he runs out. Here's Royer for the Outlaws. Joe Royer to Pellis, back to Royer. He comes in off the half wall. He goes in behind the net to Sandberg. Pellis was open out in front for a moment. Simonson to the dotted. Back up high to Royer. Fakes the pass, takes it. And that is smothered by McMillan. Back come the Rebels. McAdam gets the ball to the left half wall. Now it's swung over to Beret. Beret to Wildeboer, who pushed it over to Peterson. That shot, Basisti, from a bad angle, goes wide. It'll be outlaw ball. Forgrave will start up this offensive possession. Ethan Forgrave steps into one, that high shot. It's fought off by McMillan. Tokar will start play back up. Forgrave down to Simonson. Sebastian Simonson across the top. Looking, feeding. Luke Royer sailed that wide. Simonson back over to Luke Royer. Forgrave down out of the corner to the crease. He gets doubled. Ball pops up in the air. Tokar with an outside shot. McMillan with the save. Be Rebels ball here. With 14:45 to go first period. Still scoreless here from Ken Nickel Rec. As Fowler makes his way over center. He hits Peterson. Peterson all the way to the net. And Hetman with the save. Baldock with the loose ball. He will race out over center. Delayed call coming up now to the Rebels. Outlaws will go 6-on-5. Royer up top to his brother Luke. Now Simonson dotted across the floor to Royer, back to Sandberg, and that 5-hole shot. Once again, smothered by McMillan. And now the Rebels will go to the box. It'll be Outlaw power play. Simonson up top, Pellis and Royer on the shooters. Sandberg and Forgrave on the left side here. Pellis, Forgrave. Sandberg back over to Simonson, and he rips one into the top corner on a C9 shot. Up over McMillan, it's 1-0. Power play marker puts the Outlaws ahead here early. And they win the draw here as well. Nielsen to Luke Royer. Forgrave off the half wall. Royer inside, and he's wide open, left alone. And his favorite move back to the short side high. 2-0. So Luke Royer extends the Outlaw lead here off a hat trick on Wednesday night against the Miners. Continues his hot play. The Outlaws up early here. Simonson to over to Joe Royer. Forgrave rips it, top corner, stopped, rebound. Great save there by McMillan. Loose ball to Sandberg. Mitch Sandberg up high to Simonson. The Outlaws will get the reset and recalibrate here. Joe Royer, half wall. Sandberg back over to Royer. Inside, Simonson, and a great stick save there by McMillan. Making some nice saves early on here is McMillan, and then Sandberg rips it up high to that far top corner again where Simonson buried it. It's 3-0. Another face-off win for the Outlaws. They come back down floor. Wolney getting pressed, throws it away, but it's saved momentarily by the Outlaws, and now Tokar will pick it up. Forgrave into the middle. Royer, and he scores up and over McMillan as he was falling. again to that short side top corner, and it's 4-0. The Rebels will get possession here off the draw for a change, and McCallion will start it up. Here's Peterson across the top. Misses Wildeboer with it. Now Wildeboer gathers. Pick set there by McCallion. Ball flipped into him. Is not gathered in. And then Peterson with an opportunity. Got soaked by an Outlaw defender. Loose ball by Bure. He spins off a check. Bure feeds it. Peterson grabbing it inside the crease. It'll be Outlaw ball. Walker to Royer. Sandberg down low to Forgrave. Ethan Forgrave backpedals and goes and gets it back from Sandberg. Forgrave with a take to the short side, misses the target. Ball bounces out. Sandberg from distance puts it up off McMillan, and the Rebels will grab the loose ball. Bure down to Wheaton. Wheaton and stopped by Hetman. Loose ball. George with a second chance opportunity. Turned away by Hetman. And now Birdney will grab it for the Outlaws. Luke Royer defers to Joe. Pellis up high. Now Royer down to Forgrave. Forgrave looking. Tried to drag it underneath the defender. It goes loose. It's picked back up. Sent up to Simonson. Out in front, and Royer left all alone. This time goes far side high. And completes the hat trick. As slippery as ever, Luke Royer already has a hat trick, and that's back-to-back games for him with the hat trick. Ball sent up to George. The last time these two teams met here at Ken Nickel, the Outlaws got a big, it was like 10-0 or 10-1 after the first. And they ended up, I think, getting to 20 in the game. And much of the same so far here as George ripped it wide. Wolney picks it up, sends it up, and it'll be brought in by Gillespie. He sends it to Tokar. Sandberg over to Royer. Royer steps into one, that goes wide. Rebound out to Simonson. Simonson up high again as McMillan dropped to a knee to make it 6-0. Off the draw, we'll get our first media timeout of the game. I want to remind you about Battle of the Border. Battle of the Border takes place in Missoula, Montana this September. Check out the North versus South Box Lacrosse Tournament and tour the beautiful University of Montana campus. That's this September, Battle of the Border in Missoula, Montana. Ball's going to start up high with Basisti to Wheaton, half wall. Beret goes down near the boards, now back up. Sends it over to Basisti, who picks it up off the ground and worked his way to the front of the net, missed the target. And the rebound is picked up by Wildeboer. Easy stop there for Hetman. Turnover back the other way, and the Rebels will get back-to-back possessions here. Tass up to Wheaton. Wheaton flips it back for Basisti out of his reach. And the Outlaws take over. 8:33 to go here, first period. Outlaws up big already, 6-0. Pellis to Joe Royer. Up near the dotted. Goes to Sandberg. Sandberg pulls the trigger. Stopped by McMillan. And here comes Barrett for the Rebels. Fraser Barrett steps back, and he'll give it to Peterson. Greg Beret goes to Wildeboer. Wildeboer tucks, takes, stopped by Hetman. And the loose ball is grabbed and taken by Nielsen, who floats it up to McCann, who will set it up for the Outlaws. Here's Runco, or excuse me, I was thinking about Runco not being dressed, and I said his name for some reason. Royer, excuse me, up to Pellis. Pellis tried to feed it to Luke Royer, and now the Rebels head back into opponent territory. Wheaton open off the bench, but the pass got knocked down, and Birdney is going to go away with it. Birdney to Forgrave. Forgrave flips it in front, wide open. It was Walker, and he's turned away by McMillan. Here's Royer. Hits Pellis. Pellis to Simonson, down to Forgrave. Forgrave up with it now. He swings it over to Royer. Royer, step back shot. Pushed to the corner by Beret, who gets chased by Joe Royer. Beret runs out into space, floats it up to Dean Wojwitka. And Wojwitka will backpedal into the far corner and look for options. Throws it up high to Beret, who grabs it and sends it over to Wildeboer. Wildeboer, hacked there by Needham. Wildeboer rolls to the net, and a short side shot is handled by Hetman. Well, apparently it didn't hit Hetman. It went out of play, and it'll be Outlaws ball. Here's Tokar. Down into the offensive zone. Simonson. Tokar, Forgrave. Forgrave tried to flip it back, hit a defender. Forgrave, loose ball, rough angle shot, stopped by McMillan, and Fowler catches the pop fly. Gets it up to McAdam, it was behind him, he gathers it up, sends it to George. 5.5 to go first period. Outlaws up 6-0, shots 19-8 for the Outlaws as we sit here, moving into the later stages of the first. McCallion chased out, sends it over to Wheaton. That was too low. Now the ball pops out to Peterson, but unable to grab it in time. It'll be a shot clock violation. Now up floor, the Outlaws once again. Royer to Pellis. Pellis, Simonson, down low to Forgrave. Forgrave had Simonson open. Now Simonson gets it, but by that time, Scrimshaw had jumped over. Simonson almost puts it through McMillan. It stays out as we dip underneath 5 minutes to go here, first period. Beret gets stripped there, and McCann is going to send Gillespie in. Gillespie scores. now we got a penalty coming up to the Rebels. Looks like Wheaton will be going to the box. And it'll be a cross-checking call. And the Outlaws will go to the power play. Royer, Pellis, Simonson, Sandberg, and Forgrave here on this power play. Cross crease pass, Forgrave up to Simonson. Simonson back to Forgrave, and that quick stick misses the net. Sandberg back up to Simonson. Simonson fakes the pass, goes to Pellis. That shot turned away by McMillan. Looked like it went out. The refs don't see it though. And the Rebels will come away with it. Swim move by Scrimshaw. Strip. Forgrave, or Royer will take that. And they'll head up floor. Ball works its way around the perimeter. Simonson steps into one. That goes off a crossbar. Up and out of play. Forgrave, Simonson, Sandberg, Pellis. Now, seal set for Simonson. He steps into the dotted. Now he'll back out. Sandberg takes a shot, and that's turned away by McMillan. Goes up and out of play. Outlaws will retain possession with 40 seconds to go on the power play. Royer, Sandberg, or he faked it to Sandberg. Now Sandberg has it. Forgrave back over to Royer, and that shot misses. Forgrave, loose ball. Ball skipped shooter to shooter, and then they tried to get it down to Simonson. Ball hit something on its way. It'll be Rebel ball. Back come the Rebels. And that's going to be thrown away. The Outlaws will pick it back up. Here's Tokar. Forgrave. Now Pellis across the top. Gets it down to Luke Royer. Royer over to Tokar. Tokar, Forgrave. That shot into the chest of McMillan. Throws it behind McAdam. He'll gather it. Get it over center. McCallion. Wheaton is run out at. Loose ball. And it's going to be picked up by the Outlaws. Jacob Morris throws that away. Rebel ball. Beret storms into the dotted. He rolls back out. Beret, quick stick pass, and that goes in for McCallion, who was sort of on the wrong side of the floor. Actually, that's George. George was over on the left side of the floor. He's a righty. And was able to put that back into the cage. 7-1. Nice draw win there by McCann. The ball is thrown away by the Outlaws. All right, I'll call 8 seconds on the Rebels. It'll be Outlaw ball. Forgrave swings it over to Royer as we dip underneath the final minute of the first period. Simonson Tried to feed it down low to Royer. Forgrave was also in the area, and then Royer takes the ball back. Tokar. Winds and fires off the midsection of McMillan. And now the ball's transitioned out through Beret. Darren Beret will hand off. Well, you fake the handoff, and now he'll go down to Basisti. Rolls off a check and misses the target. The ball goes loose. And that'll do it for the shot clock. Outlaws with about 9.5 seconds remaining here in the period. See if they hurry it or if they call it timeout. They'll just play on here as Walker sends it up to Royer. Simonson with some space to shoot. He's going to take it, and he rips it into the top corner with all day. And that makes it 8-1. Looks like they're going to take off the last second of the period, and we'll go into the break with the score. The Outlaws 8, the Rebels 1. I want to thank you for joining us here on the channel, CROW LAX TV. Hit subscribe, you'll be notified every time a game goes live. After 1, Outlaws 8, Rebels 1. We'll check back with you in about 10 minutes. Welcome back inside Ken Nickel Recreation Center for second period action, where it's the Outlaws in full control here by a score of 8-1 over the Rebels. As the senior playoffs approach, they'll start up next weekend. The Rebels have been eliminated. They are the five seed. There's only 5 teams in the division. They'll miss the playoffs. The Miners will take on the Knights, and the Outlaws, by winning this game, will secure second and get home floor against the Mountaineers in round 2. As that shot comes in on McMillan and turned away. Shots after 1, the Rebels 9, the Outlaws 27. 26 actually, because they just got 1 for that shot there. So 26-9 Outlaws take the shot advantage in the first period. That stop is made by Hetman. Basisti over to Beret. Beret down over to Wildeboer, gets it back. Greg Beret underneath, all the way to the net. Shoulder save by Hetman, and he also stepped inside the crease, so wouldn't have counted anyway. Talk about guys who have scored goals for a long time. Greg Beret is up atop that list. Really for the last 2 decades, when you go back to the Eclipse days in Junior A, and then for the last decade here in senior, the last 15 years in senior, really. Playing for the Rebels, before that the Slash, as the Rebels come back down into the offensive zone. Wheaton tried to send out in front, and then a heavy check there as Scrimshaw got taken into the boards. It's going to draw a call. And it's going to be a cross-checking penalty to the Outlaws. McCann. Back into the offensive zone. Power play sets up. Berets at the top. Basisti, Wheaton, George, and McCallion. Behind the back flip to George. Stopped by Hetman. As the ball goes around the perimeter. Greg Beret back to George. Now Wheaton up to George. That shot. Easy save by Hetman. He's got to throw it here. That hits a Rebel and stays above center. McAdam gathers it up. And having to re-grab it, he sends it to Greg Beret. Beret from the corner, and that goes in on a tight angle there. Goal line extended, saw some space, and ripped it off the arm of Hetman. I just finished telling you, Greg Beret just knows how to score goals, even when there's not much there, like you just saw. His savviness comes together there, and the Rebels are on the board here. It's 8-2. Forgrave gets away from 2 defenders, and he one-hands it over to Royer. Royer skips it to Luke. Back over to Joe. Forgrave, and that low shot. Might have caught some bar, I couldn't tell. Got a reset. McMillan either stopped it or hit bar, or hit both happened as Royer picks up the loose ball all the way to the net. And this time, McMillan makes a save, and then Royer goes through the crease. As a stick gets sent across the floor here. Wojciechowski into the zone, loses it as he was met by 2 defenders, nowhere for him to go. But McAdam picks up the loose change. McAdam off of a great year in his final year at junior with the Fort Saskatchewan Rebels. Really led them to a provincial appearance. That shot gets knocked down, picked up by Peterson. The shot clock will expire, and it'll be outlaw ball. And Walker sends that up. Nice to see Ryan Walker playing some senior B ball. He's been playing senior C for the minors. He's getting some pretty consistent playing time now with the senior B Outlaws. Growing up out of the South Edmonton Warriors organization. Actually got to coach him, then coached against him in midget, and he's a good kid, good guy, and it's nice to see guys like that get the opportunity to play up. As Basisti is going to gather it, wind up, and that shot taken by Jingra, stopped by Hetman. Burdney will send it up floor to Wolney. Wolney, swim move, and he's got a lane to the net. Wolney, stopped by McMillan. And then he takes a heavy hit there from a Rebel as Wolney pushes back. It looks like McBride. And I think the Outlaws are going to get a penalty here. George backs out with it. Prolific scorer in his junior days for the Junior B Rebels, and then the minors, and then a quick stick. Wheaton on the doorstep. So the Rebels have cut it down to 5. So the Rebels on the delayed call score, so the penalty will not be served. And the visitors get the ball off the draw. Swim move from George to the dotted. George is going to pull it out. Beret now with it. To the dotted. Rolls around. Now he'll come back up top, and he swings it to Peterson. Peterson, chased by Nielsen. Beret whips it down to Wheaton, had that fall out of his stick. And the Outlaws send it up floor. But Tokar was out of the gate, but picked off by Beret getting back. Nice job by him. And the Rebels come back down floor. Here's Will DeBoer. Pick set, sends it over to Basisti, off the half wall to the dotted. Back up top to Will DeBoer. That shot picked off by McCann, and he's going to run up floor. McCann is joined by Forgrave. Forgrave down to McCann, and that was out of his reach. Rare bad pass there by Forgrave. Royer back over to Joe Royer. Now Sandberg from the restraining line. Steps into one. Way wide. And the Rebels are going to knock that into the Outlaw bench. It's going to be Outlaw ball. Just one of those things you can't do. And brain cramp as Royer swims all the way to the net, and then one hands it at the net. That goes wide as he was tied up. And the ball is picked up by Sandberg, who wards off a check. It's going to go back over. Rebels possession. Will DeBoer bounces that one through Hetman to make it 8-4. So a 3-goal run now by the Rebels has narrowed this lead down. Off the draw, picked up by Forgrave. Hack there. It'll probably be Could have been a call there, none forthcoming. George out of the gate, George up high, stopped by Hetman, and then the ball was almost knocked in by Needham. Ball goes to the boards. It's going to be picked up by Fowler. Fowler loses it as there's heavy traffic over there. Peterson picks it up and goes up top. Peterson to George, half wall, pick set there. It's backed off on by Scrimshaw. Basisti comes up top. Basisti lines and fires, and that goes through Hetman. That's a series of pretty weak goals here by the Rebels. And they've drawn themselves back into it. It's 8-5, and it looks like there might be a call coming up to the Outlaws after the fact. So that marker by the Rebels sets them up to go on a power play, only down 3. Beret, George, McCallion, Beret. It's quick stick, Basisti shut off by Hetman as Wheaton's knocked down in front of the net. Beret, McCallion up to George. Beret, behind the back. George, stop by Hetman. And we're going to get a wipe of the floor, I believe. With 11:45 to go, second period. I want to thank you for joining us here on the channel, CROW LAX TV. Hit subscribe. You'll be notified every time a game goes live. Got the playoffs approaching. Senior B will start next weekend. Junior B midweek. And Junior A, which we don't have on the channel, has already started tonight. Don't want to know the score, as I'm going to watch the game later, so please do not update me as they wipe. Ball comes back down. Simonson carries it in. He's going to wait as there's still a minute left to go on the kill. 3 Rebels over there waiting for Simonson to make a decision with it. Now he sends it over to Royer. Quick stick, stopped by McMillan. As the gap in this game, as I said, is closed in a hurry. It was 8-1, it's now 8-5. As Forgrave takes a heavy hit, and it goes loose. Basisti will start it up here. Fake flip to Beret. Well, he actually did give it to Beret. Beret has it. Beret back to Basisti. Cutter, George. Stopped by Hetman. Now, ball out to Wheaton. Beret up top again. Full reset here with 15 seconds to go on the power play. Beret takes it and whips it wide. Rebound, Basisti down to Wheaton, and that stop. Rebound and up high. The stop was made by Hetman, and then another save by the goaltender, who makes it with a stick, and he sends it quickly up to Simonson, and he scores. So Hetman had a bit of a rough stretch, makes a couple of big saves, and then sends it right down to Simonson. He makes up for it with a nice pass, and it's 9-5. Rebels come back into the zone. The team's back to even strength. Barrett sent it into the middle. It was misplayed there by Scrimshaw. The ball bounces back out. And now that shot comes in. Good stop there by Hetman. As Nielsen is banged up here. He goes to the bench. Didn't quite see what happened there. As Pellis operates up top. Swung over. Sandberg steps into one and misses the target. That'll go back over, and the Rebels will take possession. And with that, we'll hit our second immediate timeout of the game. Want to remind you about Battle of the Border. Battle of the Border will take place in Missoula, Montana this September. Check out the North versus South Box Lacrosse Tournament and tour the beautiful University of Montana campus. That's this September in Missoula, Montana, Battle of the Border. Now they blow it back in. Wheaton starts up top. He sends it to Basisti. Wheaton with the back pick, but the ball's over on the right side now. Wildebort. And it's going to stay with the Rebels. Basisti. Gingras. McCallion. McCallion skips it. Basisti, nice feed inside. Gingras was open for a second. Didn't quite bring it in. And now the ball is brought up by the Outlaws. Birdney gets it to Walker. He'll run away from pressure and gets it to Simonson. Joe Royer. Down to Tokar. Swings it into possession of Simonson. Simonson hop step up top. Fires it. This time up high. McMillan was able to shut the door. Simonson has buried, I think, 3 so far up there. Now up top, Sandberg down to Forgrave. Pick set there by Simonson. Forgrave steps around it, goes over to Royer. Royer, cutter. Now Simonson with it. Simonson fought off by McMillan. Loose ball. And Royer almost came away with it. Now Forgrave grabs it. Couldn't quite see who that was in the near corner. And the Outlaws will have a reset. Sandberg. Simonson to Royer. Pellis into the middle, takes a high hit. Simonson. And that's going to draw a call, that hit on Pellis. And it'll be an Outlaws power play with 7:52 to go in the second. The Outlaws, having broke that run by the Rebels, are going to have another chance to take their 5-goal lead back. Simonson up top, gets it over to Joe, swings it, Sandberg. Simonson behind the back to Sandberg. Joe flips it, or fakes it, and then goes wide. Sandberg, Forgrave out of the corner, gets the reset. Ball goes around the perimeter here. Simonson steps into one. That goes wide. And it'll bounce back into the Outlaw zone. And the Rebels will gain possession on the back over. get it over on that far wall. Up high. He'll sit with it. As Needham walks towards him, now backs off. That shot catches a piece of Hetman on the far side. And the Rebels are going to work to try to get the reset, but McCann is going to come away with it. Needham to Royer. Royer to Forgrave. Up top, Simonson. Pellis, Joe Royer, Simonson, Sandberg. Down. Now skipped over, and Forgrave buries to double up on the Rebels, and it's 10-5. So we've seen the Outlaws go up high quite a bit in this one on McMillan. That's where they've had their success. And Forgrave did just that there to extend the lead to 5, and as the Outlaws remain on the power play here. Simonson, Pellis, back up, Simonson to Sandberg. Simonson skips it, Forgrave, Pellis goes into the middle. They try to hit Royer in behind him, and then that low shot is easily handled by McMillan. And then now it's thrown away, and it's picked off by Simonson. Fake pass, he goes up to Forgrave, who pulls it in. Now he gets it down to Royer, who walks it up, and the Outlaws' power play will set back up. Stepping in with Sandberg, step down shot, stopped by McMillan. Now looks like official Sean Reed's going to take a couple of players here, one from each team. Royer and Scrimshaw will head to the box. Should get 4 on 3 here. Ah, 5 on 4. As a minute still remains in the original penalty. Peterson runs with it to the far side of the floor. Chased. And he gets it to Wildeboer. Wildeboer is grabbed onto. No call. Nilsson continues to get on him. The Outlaws regain possession. Royer steps into one, and that hit pipe. Rebound comes right out to Tokar. They'll get the reset. Forgrave thought about shooting, goes over to Pellis, who wound and fired, and he gets knocked down there. Outlaws regain possession anyway. As the Rebels get a man out of the box, we return to 5 on 5. Skipped over to Sandberg, ripped that off the crossbar. He faked like he was going to drop down low and then ripped it up high, and McMillan had dropped to the floor, and he just missed kissing the mesh there. Tokar, Sandberg, Forgrave, Pellis cuts inside. He goes back in behind that to Royer. Forgrave winds and fires. Loose ball up off the boards. Picked up by Forgrave. Beautiful pass, but unable to quite pull it in was Pellis, who was trying to tiptoe the crease. Who played a bunch of Senior B before playing these past couple of seasons of Senior C with the Warriors. And he's a goal scorer in his own right. Looks like another call is going to be coming up. A cross-check to the Outlaws. Rebels turn to go to the power play now. Beret up top. Double up pick. Down low. Basisti. Beret they tried to feed it to him. He was on the wrong side of the floor though. And the ball went through a stick and into the boards. Beret. Basisti. Basisti floated one into the midsection of Hetman. And the loose ball is picked up by Wheaton. Beret. Steps into one. That's soaked by an Outlaw stick. Go back over, but it won't be back over because it went off an Outlaw. The Rebels come back down into the offensive zone. Beret, Wheaton, back up to Beret. Beret skips it to Basisti. That shot gets knocked, or that pass gets knocked down by a stick. And the loose ball is gonna turn over here, although they're arguing for a reset. And they're gonna say it hit something that's gonna keep it in Rebels possession. Did not see what that hit, so I can't tell you what exactly happened there, but the Rebels are gonna keep possession. Seems like the right call. As Basisti, Beret, back to Basisti. Beret gets it back behind the back to George, who goes far side top. 10-6. Off the draw, the Rebels are going to come away with possession. Now we've got a penalty call. It's like they even it up here. Both guys going to the box. Here's Wheaton to Peterson. Peterson steps off a check. Wheaton rolls open and smothering that. It's Hetman. Walker up floor. Gets over the timeline. And he sends it down to Joe Royer. Pellis swings it to Simonson as the teams play 4-on-4 here. Joe Royer, pick set by Pellis, who rolls open. Simonson cutting. And good stop there by McMillan, who stood tall there and did not dip down and give him anything up top. Beret off the bench. Beret flips it. Just missing McCallion there on the behind the back. Hetman, nice pass up floor to Gillespie. Gillespie fires it down to Tokar, who missed it. Gonna run it down though and pick it back up. Tokar taken heavily into the boards. Ball's thrown back up high. Joe Royer whips it to the short side, top corner, fought off by McMillan. And here goes Greg Bray over center. He's going to have to pull it out as there's a couple Outlaws back. 28 seconds remaining in the period. Basisti controls it up top. Zach Basisti, nice one-handed feed inside to Wheaton, who was wide open. They left him there, and just sailing it wide was the veteran. Loose ball, Beret takes a high hit. And that's going to do it here for the second period as they don't start the clock. But that will do it here for the second period. Your score after 2, the Outlaws 10, the Rebels 6. The Outlaws looking to punch their ticket to home floor advantage in the first round with a win. The Rebels playing their last game of the season as they will miss the playoffs. After 2, it's the Outlaws 10, the Rebels 6. We'll check back with you here for third period action in 10 minutes' time. Welcome back inside Ken Nickel Recreation Center for third period action, where it's the Outlaws leading the Rebels by a score of 10-6. The Outlaws looking to clinch home floor advantage in the first round, and they'll do so with a win before their series with the Mountaineers starts next either Friday or Saturday. And the Rebels are playing their last game of the season as they'll miss the playoffs for the second consecutive year. Here Simonson skips up the top, tries to swing it in and out of the stick. Now down low, quick stick attempt by Luke Royer. That shot comes in, goes off of a leg, and it'll be Rebel ball. Beret controls it. McCallion hits Peterson. Peterson misses Basisti. And it goes to Walker, who walks it up the floor. And he gets it to Tokar. Pellis into the offensive zone. He swings it to Sandberg. Steps in, takes the shot. McMillan gets a piece of it. The reset takes place, and Sandberg controls it and throws it over to Tokar. Simonson sets it, or gets a pick set for Grave, and good save there by McMillan, as he had the league's leading goal scorer bearing down on him. Boy Whitcup hands it to Eric George, to Wheaton. Jordan Wheaton to the dotted, and that shot floats in up high on Hetman. He bounces off the boards after a hit and gets it high to Gingras. Gingras to the net. That shot got soaked, it looked like, before it got there, and Wolney races away. Rex Wolney gets hit there by Basisti. And Joe Royer had that go over his head. Tass is going to box out a couple of defenders. Somehow keeping the ball. The ball goes loose now. He's knocked into the boards. He goes down. No interference call, and the Outlaws will come away with it. Needham over center. Goes to Pellis. Outlaws set up here. Royer to the half wall for Simonson. Sebastian Simonson rolls back up. Takes a shot on the run. That hit bar. Stayed out. Forgrave picked it up out of the crease. It'll be Rebel ball. Darren Beret to Peterson. Now George goes over to Will DeBoer. The Rebels are chased out behind the back to Beret. Beret underneath and tried to twist one short side. Goes wide, and the Outlaws will take over. Joe Royer across center. Pellis, Simonson, down low to Sandberg. He looks into the middle with it, feeds it. He had Pellis, who's been open a few times now. Ball didn't get there, though, and Fowler comes back down floor. Ball up high with Wheaton. Jordan Wheaton into the offensive zone, down over the rag line. Flips it inside. Tied up there was a Rebel. Now Gingras picks up the loose ball. Gingras chased, gets it up high. Basisti winds and fires, and that goes wide and out of play. Outlaws possession. I want to thank you for joining us here on CROW LAX TV. Hit subscribe, you'll be notified every time a game goes live. It's Mohammed Joma with you here on the call. You can hit me up, MJ_9 on Twitter and m.joma on Instagram. anytime you want as that shot comes in. Stopped by McMillan. And here come the Rebels. Barrett crosses center and sets up. Barrett around, in behind the dotted, now behind the net. Comes up high with, or comes around with it. Now he swings it to Peterson, who winds and fires and misses the cage. Loose ball, Beret now. Rebels. Beret steps into one from the wrong side. Stopped by Hedman, who lofts it up floor. 2-on-1 here for the Outlaws if they want it. And it's very slow to recognize it, but eventually they do. Tokar winds and fires, and that's stopped by McMillan. Fowler over center. Joe Fowler chased. Now the ball into the stick of Wheaton, who tried to get it to Darren Beret. Ball was low. Outlaws turn back. Sandberg crashes down. And the Outlaws will set up the offense. 14-14 to go here. Outlaws with a 10-6 lead. They got out early, 6-0 and 8-1. And the Rebels have narrowed the gap considerably here. But the Outlaws still with a comfortable 4-goal lead. Simonson into the midsection of McMillan. Rebels ball. As the Rebels are going to set up here. Half wall. Basisti. Shot. That goes wide. Rebound. Comes out. And a Rebel was thrown to the ground. That'll be interference. Rebels ball as George went down there. Peterson gets it over. Basisti, quick stick, Gingras. Stopped by Hetman. Now ball up high. George swings it into the stick of Ethan Peterson. Peterson to Basisti. Quick stick look. Gingras was open. Ball didn't get there, and at least accurately didn't get there. And now the ball is loose and picked up by Nielsen. Stefan Nielsen comes over center. Forgrave will take possession. Ball swings over to Sandberg. Royer. Simonson ducks underneath the man. Now he's harassed by McAdam. Rebels ball here. Barrett into the offensive zone. He gets it to Beret. Beret goes to Wildeboer. Wildeboer into the middle. Goes back out with it. Pick set there by Beret. Double comes on Wildeboer. Now fed and wide open somehow was Basisti, but missed the net. And it'll be back over. It'll be Outlaw ball. Sandberg to Royer. Royer into the middle now. Now Forgrave up high, back to Joe Royer. Luke Royer. That goes way wide. Ball goes out of play. It'll be Rebel ball. Ball up top with Wildeboer. Now the ball's transitioned out by Nielsen. Comes down, that shot goes wide. And the ball goes back into the stick of McAdam. delayed call coming up against the Outlaws. I believe it'll be a high sticking call. Basisti with it now. Basisti to George, down into the stick of Gingras. Now George. Wheaton up top. Into the middle, George, shot taken. And stopped by Hetman. Loose ball, Beret. Goes over to Basisti. Basisti throws it high, Beret grabs it. Now Basisti fires it down, Gingras, fake pass, and then goes to that short side. He got Hetman to bite just a little bit and got himself some room there on that short side to make it 10-7. Needham, loose ball, gets to Wolney. And the Outlaws come back down, still only leading by 3 here. Forgrave comes up. Now they try to feed it to him backdoor, goes in behind him, and it's picked up by McMillan. Beret moves it to McCallion. Ball goes in behind its target, Beret. Beret picks it up off the wall, swings it. Peterson to the net, rough angle. And Hetman makes the save. And now here go the Outlaws. 9:25 to go. Outlaws up by 3. Once again, thank you for joining us on the channel. Hit subscribe. You'll be notified every time a game goes live. With the playoffs around the corner, literally just days away, now is the time to hit that button and get tuned into some great lacrosse as that ball gets sent wide on the pick and roll. We'll have our media timeout, our third final one of the game. I'll remind you about Battle of the Border. Battle of the Border takes place this September in Missoula, Montana. You can go check out the North versus South box lacrosse game and the beautiful University of Montana campus. That's Battle of the Border in Missoula, Montana this September. So back up floor, off of the media timeout comes Wheaton to the net. Lost it, and McCann will come back the other way. Forgrave to Simonson, who goes promptly to Pellis. Pellis out of that far corner, swings it to Sandberg. Sandberg across the top on the run. Misses the net. That'll be Rebel ball. Here's Eric George. And another goal here would make this pretty interesting, because it would really narrow the gap and give the Rebels some hope here with 8 minutes to go. Basisti across the top, rolls back. Now he tried to swing it over to McCallion. That was well wide of him. Now George with the second chance opportunity, and then Wildeboer picked up the loose change and threw it into the yawning cage. And all of a sudden it's 10-8. Draw is won by the Rebels, who are going to look to put some real pressure now on the Outlaws as we go down the stretch. Wildeboer swings it into the stick of Wheaton. Wheaton, George, tried to flip it inside where McCallion was camped out, but he was well covered and wasn't really looking for it, and the Outlaws will get the ball. Tokar to Simonson. One more probably puts this away for the Outlaws. Tokar gets it back from Royer. Behind the net, he tried to go to Forgrave. That was a wild pass. It's going to be picked up by Fowler. Joe Fowler gets across in time and hits Gingras, who has one now in this game. It almost looks like he's using a mini stick. Very short looking shaft on that stick for Gingras. As that gets picked up by Peterson. Peterson takes a whack. That's going to draw a call. And the Rebels will return to the power play down just 2. So here we go. Beret winds and fires. That gets picked off by McCann. He's going to take off. Liam McCann misses the target. Ball bounces, and that'll be back over. Rebel ball. So maybe a chance to put it away there. Would have been a huge one for the Outlaws, but it's going to remain 10-8. Beret steps in. Down to McCallion, now through George, up to Beret. Basisti winds and fires, stopped by Hetman. And now Nielsen tries to knock it forward. He'll battle for it with a couple of Rebels. McCallion is there, and now George goes to Wheaton. Quick stick stopped by Hetman. As Gillespie runs out over center. He's going to be chased by Wheaton. And Royer will control. 5:40 to go now, and the Outlaws up by 2. Royer. Forgrave rolls off a check. Forgrave gets knocked down. Heavy traffic there. And the Rebels come back over center with 30 seconds to go on the power play. Here's Greg Beret with the ball now. Can they get one to come within 1 here with 5 minutes to go? Ball moves over to Wildeboer. That shot is soaked. Basisti gets harassed there by Wolney. Ball's batted to Peterson. Up to Beret. Beret steps in and stopped by Hetman. Rebound, McCallion. Cross crease pass, and the ball just sort of dribbled into Hetman there as he sends it up floor. Wolney tries to knock it down. It's out of his reach. And McMillan will bat it forward, but into the stick of McCann, who steps back. Royer. As I was distracted by some yelling from the bench, and as I was not looking, there was a goal here scored by the Outlaws. Somebody, I think it was Wildeboer, was just screaming off the Rebels bench. So the Outlaws get a big one here with 4 minutes to go. Again, some really strange events there. There was a Rebel just absolutely screaming on the gate at his own players, and I looked down to see what was even going on, and as I looked down there, the Outlaws capitalize into the back of the net. They go back up by 3. Here's George, swings it. Peterson, long shot, saved by Hetman. Loose ball is vacuumed up by Nielsen. He'll take off. Nielsen's got numbers here. He recognizes it, but the Outlaws are not going to use it. Here's Joe Royer. Pellis. Luke Royer. Simonson, half wall. Swings it into the stick of Joe Royer. Steps back and shoots. Stopped by McMillan. Ball goes out. Outlaws will retain possession. 3 minutes to go now. And that is the Outlaw lead. 3. Late in this one. Sandberg. Royer. Back to Luke. Sandberg. Steps into one. High shot. Stopped by McMillan. And it'll be another reset here for the Outlaws as Simonson will take his time to pick this up. Outlaws content to use as much 30 as they can. Simonson over to Royer. And that shot from distance goes in from Royer. If it wasn't over already, it is now 12-8. McCann takes a heavy hit into the near boards. Ball's picked up by Eric George. George hands off to Basisti. Trots into the offensive zone. Beret steps into one, and Hetman makes that save. Up floor to Needham. And Hetman does throw a nice ball, puts a good amount of air under them. As the Outlaws will drain some clock here. Pellis. As the ball goes back and forth on the left side. Here's Royer, seal set by Pellis. Shot is knocked down. Simonson, second attempt. That goes wide. And Rebels ball here. .130 to go as we wind down here from Ken Nickel Recreation. Wildeboer rolled into the middle wide open. Ball was away from him. To the net, and that shot is shut off by Hetman. Birdney stepping around a man and getting the ball up floor to Luke Royer, who hands off to Joe. Minute to go now. As the Outlaws are just going to stay wide here and wind some clock. Forgrave will just roll this in the corner, and the Rebels will take over. I want to thank you once again for being with us all season long as we wrap up the regular season tomorrow on the channel, and then it'll be playoff time. Plenty of action across the channel. You can check out Junior B, Senior B action, playoff style, and we'll have plenty of games for you starting either Wednesday or Thursday as the North semifinal will kick off in Junior B as that shot comes in and is turned away by Hetman. Rebels come up floor. Gingras down, tried to hit a Rebel in the corner. It was Barrett, and then the ball comes out in front of the net. It's going to be picked up by Wolney, who's going to go to the net. I don't know if he's going to shoot. Well, he does. And that's going to do it for the game as the Outlaws take it by a score of 12-8. The Outlaws secure the second seed in the senior standings. They'll open up the playoffs at home against the Calgary Mountaineers beginning next Friday or Saturday. It'll be a best of 5. The winner will take on the winner of the Miners Night Series, which will also be a best of 5. And we'll have those games here from Edmonton and the Ken Nickel next weekend for you. Final score here from Ken Nickel Arena. The Outlaws 12, the Rebels 8. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be with you again as soon as tomorrow. Thanks, everybody, and take care.